Welcome back to episode 15 of Dear Young Men. On today's episode, we are going to talk about the rise of subscription-based everything, Twitch moderators, and finally, 5 financial mistakes that I made and how I would change them on Dear Young Men. Welcome back to episode 15 of Dear Young Men. I'm very excited to be here. I've had so much fun. This is so enjoyable. Just the fact that I get to do this every single week is really a blessing. And I just feel like this is the one thing that I probably am actually the most proud of beyond the actual physical videos that I'm making and putting all my heart and soul into. This podcast is so different because I just get to talk. And it's a great conversation that I feel like I'm having. And as people begin to watch this more and more, I'm really looking forward to growing a community of people who are thinking similar things that I'm thinking, because I really believe that we can help and hopefully change a lot of young men's lives and not just take advantage of them and sell them courses and make me rich. I really don't have any interest in that. So the first thing that we're going to talk about today is the rise of subscription-based everything. There are so many services that are doing this now. I personally have been stuck using some of them, but I just want to talk about a few examples that I'm seeing and just how prevalent it is and potentially ways that we can get around all these subscription-based services for everything. The first one, and one of the more popular ones for creators, is of course Adobe. Adobe's pricing model is unbelievable. To make these podcasts and everything, I spend $720 every single year just on my license to use Adobe. It's an absolutely astronomical amount of money, and it's completely insane and completely ridiculous. So you have to spend $60 each month to get access to all of their photo and video editing apps, whether that be Premiere Pro, Media Encoder, Photoshop, Lightroom, all those types of things. That's $60 a month. And the problem is, the thing that I have a problem with, and we'll continue to go into this, is there is just no one way to own these apps. So they can change them however they want. They can manipulate them and make them worse however they want, or make them better potentially. But the thing is, like, you don't own the software. So the day you stop paying is the day you stop using it. There are obviously alternatives that I'm going to have to start using, because the cost of this it's not crippling. It's just so much money that it's gotten to a point where it's ridiculous. But I learned initially just on Adobe, and now I'm stuck. And they've done a lot of things recently where they are using AI to read the way that we edit videos. It's completely disingenuous. It's a completely terrible company, but their product is good. Premiere Pro is a good product. That's the problem with so much of this stuff, is that they create a good product, and the only way to get access to this good product is to pay a subscription. There are almost no things anymore where you can get around not paying a subscription. It seems like every single item you use in your life costs money every single day to use. It's unbelievable. The cost used to just be the fact that the thing was slowly depreciating. So you buy a $1,000 camera and you use it for 5 years, and now it's only worth $200. But that was the cost of doing business. You knew it was $1,000, and you knew at the end of it you weren't going to have very much value left, and that's okay. But now it's like you buy a camera, and in order to use the camera, you got to spend another $50 a month just to use the camera. That's what it seems like, and it's really frustrating. Another popular example are these monthly clothes boxes. I think these clothing box companies you couldn't actually develop a worse business model for this podcast. If you want to make a guy like me more upset, create a company that sends you new clothes every single month. There's obviously Stitch Fix, there's Rent the Runway. There's so many different types of these companies where basically what you do is each month you give them a pretty significant amount of money. I don't know how much Stitch Fix is. I couldn't find that information online. I'm really struggling to say that word, Stitch Fix. But I found Rent the Runway, and you get 10 items per month for $99 for the first month, and then $144 every month after that. That's insane. I mean, you're talking about it's so much. I mean, $144 a month. We could do the investment calculator, and we will get into that a little bit later. But that is a remarkable amount of money. It's so much money. The fact that people are actually doing this, it blows my mind. The fact that people have this kind of money to actually do this is insane. Clothes and these items, just buying this stuff all the time, it's crazy. It's not going to make you happy. Oh, I finally got this new article of clothing in. Now I'm happy. That's just not how any of this stuff works. So obviously that is is one of the ones that you can choose to do that, which I think is okay. Like we're not at the point now where we have to rent clothes and we're getting our clothes like delivered from the government and we have to borrow those each month. We actually, this shirt, I actually own this shirt that I'm wearing. I actually found this in the back of my closet. I think it looks kind of nice. Okay, so then the next one this is, I think, the most egregious one. This is BMW started selling heated seat subscriptions for $18 a month. The thing is they are putting in all of the equipment, and this is very real. This is a very real thing that BMW is doing, and every single car manufacturer is going to be doing this. My wife's car is connected to the internet, and I don't know how. I don't know actually how they get this data from me, because we will be driving our car and we will get updates sometimes from an email or some company has access to it, our information somehow, and they will get the miles exactly down to the mile. Like they'll tell me how many miles my car has and it's time for an oil change. How do you know that? How is this connected to the internet? I'm not paying for it to be connected to the internet. I would never do that. It's stupid. So BMW is selling these, it's insane, $18 a month with the options to subscribe for a year, $180, 3 years, $300, or pay for unlimited access for $415. So you just have to pay an extra $415 to use your car. And is this transferable? Who knows? This stuff is unbelievable. It's ridiculous. What they do is they lock. So the front heated seating is the most popular one, like because that's an actual unit that's in the car, and all that has to be done is a switch and software has to be flipped on. It's because so many of these cars no longer use buttons. They actually use just these big screens up front, so that way they use that as a way to save a bunch of money. They make the cars look a little bit nicer potentially, but they don't have all the buttons, and the buttons are a lot more expensive to put in, and so they can hide all these things behind software now. So the things that you get are BMW safety camera information, you get driving assistance plus, front heat seating, high beam assistance, iconic sound sport, map update package, online entertainment voucher, and service inclusive. All of these are just things that you can continue to pay for on a car that you already own. These cars, a BMW, I mean, these cars are exceedingly expensive. $50, $60, $70, $80, $100,000. These cars are ridiculously expensive. And on top of that, you need to be giving them money each month in order to do that. Not just gas, not just maintenance, which most of these companies, the way they get you on these, they give you warranties, quote unquote, which I don't believe in warranties. I think warranties are a complete scam. I've never signed up for a warranty. And the one time I accidentally did, I canceled it. And so if you've signed up for a car warranty, you can actually call in and cancel it, and they will refund you the remainder of it. What happens as well with all these warranties is the only way to keep the warranty valid is you have to go to that car manufacturer's auto shop. So if my wife has a Mazda, so if I want to keep the warranty, which we don't have on our car, if I wanted to keep the warranty, I'd have to go to a Mazda licensed, authorized dealership and have all the work be done there. The prices are 4 times more expensive. You'll get an oil change and a tire rotation, and it's like $400. You could do that at a local shop. You could do a tire rotation yourself, but you could get an oil change for like $80 at one of those 5-minute oil change places. So this is just the type of stuff that these companies are trying to do more and more. And the reason is because it's called MRR. It's monthly recurring revenue. And it's just this new thing. It's because companies want to be able to show guaranteed money each and every month. Every business is interested in how much revenue they generate each month, but not all businesses have recurring revenue model. What is monthly recurring revenue, and why is it so important to SaaS businesses? The idea of monthly recurring revenue is that whatever business you're in, you should find a way to have people on the hook to pay money for your product every single month. There are the Whoop bands, we've seen those, Netflix, Apple, all of these companies, they just charge you for something every single month. And in some of these cases, the actual thing that they're offering to you is quite good. I mean, I pay for iCloud. It's like $2.99 a month. It's definitely worth it. I mean, my wife and I, we share data in the cloud. We have like a terabyte or 2 terabytes, and all of our pictures are uploaded. They're all backed up. We know that if we were to ever lose our phones or they were to get broken somehow, that all of our pictures of our kids would be completely fine. These are good products. That's what's so frustrating about this is they're actually good. Netflix, I don't watch Netflix. Hulu, I don't watch Hulu. Netflix I actually get for free through my carrier. I think a lot of people do that, but your carrier you actually get a lot of benefits through your carrier sometimes. And my carrier allows me to use Netflix for free, which is kind of cool. But Netflix is annoying because it's just always sex scenes all the time, in just out of nowhere. There's just all the time. That's just what Netflix basically is anymore. And so it's not art. It's just, I mean, the human body could potentially be art, but not the way that Netflix does it. So anyways, basically what these companies do is they're trying to create a model where they're constantly getting money every single month. It's actually no different than the things that I've ripped against a lot is a lot of creators make content similar to what I make and trying to motivate people to actually do a little bit better and giving them ways to actually do it. And what they do is they take this vulnerable group of people and then they sell them an idea, a dream in this course saying, I can fix your life. And that's, first of all, that's not how any of it works, but I can fix your life for $50 a month. It's never $1,000 and that's it. It's like $50 a month, $60 a month because people want monthly recurring revenue. It's a good way to get people to buy something that's more expensive than they typically could afford. Like if I had to pay $720 upfront for Premiere Pro and the apps I want to use from Adobe, I mean, I would do it. I have to, but somebody else might not want to do it. But $60 a month, that's not that bad. What? That's like 4, 5, 6 times going to Chipotle. I could probably swing it. So it's a very devious way to get people to spend more money. And obviously you never own anything. So what are some things that I have done to get around this idea of you will own nothing and like it? There are a few things that I've done. The most frustrating things to me are media, apps, and like the actual things that we consume. So the first one is media. I have set up a Plex server, which is a relatively easy thing to do. It can be complicated if you have no idea what you're doing with computers, but if you're relatively competent, you've built your own computer before, you could build a Plex server for relatively cheap, especially if you get some used parts. And what I do is I just buy used DVDs. You can get a bundle. My wife and I, we bought a bundle of the old Disney. I don't really like any of the new Disney movies. They're not very good. But the old Disney movies, like the old original princess movies, we bought a bundle of those. And I think it was like $30. And we got 15 Blu-ray DVDs for dirt cheap. $2 a DVD, but the idea would be that you rip the DVD, and not that I've ever done this, but you rip the DVD onto a computer, and then theoretically you could put that onto Plex. Again, I've never done that because that would be illegal, but technically that would be a way to get around it. And another thing you can do, and once you have the DVD and it's $2, you could donate it. That's what we've done. We've donated it because we're just such great people. Or you can donate it, or you can just sell it for the $2 that it's worth, and then it's free, basically. And the next thing you can do is buy books used and actually buy the physical books. I know a lot of people like to read on Kindles. I like a physical book. I also like listening a lot because listening is a lot easier. I could do 15 things while I'm listening to a book and still pay attention as opposed to just sitting there and reading. I know I should be able to read, whatever. I'm working on it, okay? But yes, what we could be doing is buying these books on eBay for like a couple bucks. Now, what I will say is that if you want to support the author directly, it's best to buy the book brand new for the author. But a way to get books cheap and knowledge cheap is just to buy them used off of eBay, and it's dirt cheap. And then finally, just try to make substitutions where you can. I have been gradually learning how to use an editing software called DaVinci Resolve because that's $300 one-time purchase, and you get to keep that for the rest of your life. And that's what I need to. I'm stepping away from Adobe eventually, but I have learned so much. I built everything off of Adobe Premiere Pro, so it's a hard thing for me to leave. And I understand it might be hard, but you have to try to find an alternative that you can buy one-time purchase and they have a track record proven that they'll continue to update it. And so that way you could save the money on not spending $720 a year, but only $60 a month. That's how you try to fight against you will own nothing and like it. It's tough. I mean, every company wants monthly recurring revenue, every single one of them. And it's a hard fight, but I think it's a fight that's worth fighting because eventually we're going to get to a point where we are borrowing everything. And that's not what life's about. It's not about borrowing things. It's about owning physical items and not saying, oh, well, here's money each month so I can continue to watch the things I like to watch and see the things I like to see. That's stupid. That's a stupid model. It doesn't have to be like that. But you're sort of allowing it to happen because we've all allowed it to happen. Next, I want to talk about Twitch moderators. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I'm an expert, but I saw this video and it was really humiliating and I wanted just to talk about it.
All right, come on.
Okay.
Okay, so you've probably seen this video before. I just recently stumbled across it. So this guy, he just gets completely humiliated by this streamer. And so he's a moderator. And if you don't know what that is, it's basically, from what I understand, it's somebody who sort of moderates the chat. That way people aren't doing things that they shouldn't be doing, like saying things they shouldn't be saying. I think that's basically what it is. And it's kind of like a meme, like a moderator. That's kind of a meme. you imagine the Reddit moderator, he's sort of is like a neckbeard guy. He's like heavy, he's overweight, he's single, he wears a little like, I don't know, not the toupee thing, but the little hat, and he's, he tips his hat cap to you, that type of stuff. And so I saw this and I'm like, okay, well, I need to see what people are saying about this because I'm not plugged in like that. And the thing that I found with these people is their response to it was interesting. They were saying that he shouldn't do this because it's like, it's bad, dude. Like, you look bad. This is cringy, blah, 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 blah. But so they're skimming the surface, but I think a problem we're having in modern culture is that we don't understand why we think that because we've taken God out of everything. So why is it humiliating for him to be treated like that? And the reason is because you can't humiliate a human if he doesn't have inherent value. I can't humiliate a plant. It's a plant. It doesn't have inherent value. It's valuable sometimes if I need to eat it, but it doesn't have inherent value. Humans do, given from above, on high, by God. When we talk about these things, we have to understand why it is important that guys like this don't get treated like this. And it's not because it's cringy, not because of this. It's because it's humiliating to a human, and humans are not here to be humiliated. That's not why we're here. We're not here to have some girl treat us like complete crap. And so I find this, it's interesting. Like, it's fun. I get it. It's fun to point and laugh at that guy. But I mean, don't you feel bad for him? Like, don't you feel, I felt this urge. I'm not a crier. I don't cry, but I almost like was welling up because that to me is just so sad. And I just feel for him. And like those types of people, I desperately want to watch my videos because their lives would be immeasurably improved just by watching my videos and acting upon the things that I am telling them to act upon. So it's fun to point and laugh at it, but this guy is a symptom of a much larger, more pervasive issue, which is male loneliness. And male loneliness is this thing that we sort of know is going on. I think everybody sort of understands that males are a little bit more lonely, but I don't think we understand the depth of it. We have a guy here who knew that he knew he was going to be humiliated on stream like this. He knew that this is what's going to happen. And he did it anyways because he just is like so obsessed with this girl because he's just lonely. I mean, that's it. That's the only reason you wouldn't really do this for any other reason. I mean, unless you get some type of sick twist out of it, like, which I don't think I don't think anybody could enjoy that type of humiliation. I think obviously the first thing is that these men are deeply, deeply lonely. These men are extremely lonely. And the other thing is that the women are attractive. Like, that woman isn't exactly an intellectual. Like, we're not watching her because she thinks really hard. And so these guys, they get into these women, and I think that they idealize them in a way where they put them on this pedestal. I think you can put women on a pedestal, and you should treat women like, as a guy, you should look out and try to protect women when you can. As a guy, I'm better at protecting my wife than she would be at protecting me. And I put my wife on a pedestal to a point. Like, obviously, I love my wife. I love my wife almost more than anything. She is the most important thing that's physical in this world. That's the most important thing. God is above her. Sorry, Carly, you've been demoted. But other than that, it's her. These guys are so lonely, and the women, they love these women so much that it becomes this parasocial relationship. And I think that they struggle trying to differentiate between the fact that these women are just using them and the fact that they're so physically attractive that they are just upset. They can't help themselves but be obsessed with it, which is obviously an extremely materialist worldview. When you love a woman for the way that she looks only, that's a materialist way to view the world. She's got fake boobs, she's got fake lips, she's got fake, I don't know, everything is fake about her, but she looks traditionally attractive. Your ape brain is like, oh wow, she's hot. But you can't, women are obviously so much more than just lip filler and large breasts and a butt. Like, there's so much more than that. My wife obviously has a nice looking face too. So I'm just joking. But the women really are so much more than that. And so are guys. Like, guys are actually much more than that. Guys are not just meant to be sent off to battle to die. Like, men aren't that. We're here to do so much more than that. We're here to create, and we're here to create life. I think a lot of guys are struggling finding their inherent value as men. So this guy has no value. He treats himself like he has no value, which is not true. It can't be true because you were woven together in the womb by God. So he knows every single hair in your head. So you can't have no value if God created you. And this is exactly the problem with the materialist worldview that doesn't believe in God. If all of that is true, then this shouldn't be cringy. He doesn't have any inherent value because this is just a materialist world, and who cares? I mean, it can't affect me in a way. I shouldn't feel so sorry for this guy because who cares? We're just atoms floating through space anyways. Like, none of this even matters. So, and then finally, I think that if you are a moderator like this guy, stop serving women. There is one man that you kneel before on this planet. There's only one person, and he died on the cross for you and for your sins. That's it. You don't kneel for women like this who treat you like dirt, who you kneel so they can step over you. You don't treat them like that. You kneel for one man, and his name is Jesus Christ, and he died on the cross for you. At the end of the day, these men, I feel like this weight seeing a guy like that. In a way, I don't know. I feel so bad for a man like this who just is so lost, and he just doesn't know. He doesn't know that he's actually worth something. And I'm here to say that you actually are. You're not worth anything to me. I don't know you. But there's a power much greater than I that does know you. And he believes that you have inherent value, or else you wouldn't be here. All right. Next, I want to talk about 5 financial mistakes that I've made in my life. It's quite the transition. Money. How do I transition away from this? This pretty big problem that we're having in life. All right. What financial mistakes have I made in my life? I thought this could be kind of a fun topic because I knew that the second one was going to be a little bit more dramatic. So the first one, I have made an unbelievable amount of mistakes with cars. Let me just walk you through. So I'm 29 now. My parents bought me a car when I was a kid because I was a spoiled little brat. But they bought me a car, and I was extremely grateful for it. So that car was a Pontiac Vibe, a 2010 Pontiac Vibe, wonderful car. For some reason, after I graduated college, I thought I need to sell this and get something else. So I sold that car for like $1,500 less than what it was worth because I didn't have a job and I just kind of needed the money. And instead, after I sold that, I leased a Corolla, which never lease, obviously. And then, so I had this Corolla, and that car actually sort of worked out. So I leased it for 3 years, and at the end of it, we were able to buy it with cash after the lease, which was good. So I bought it for like $10,000 or $12,000 after the lease ended. Bought it with cash, owned it, no more debt. That actually was good. And then I needed a truck. I needed a new car. So what happened, it's incredible the amount of mistakes that I've made. And this is just the first one. So I bought a truck. This is this red truck, F-150. This thing was so sick. I had always wanted an F-150. This car was unbelievable. It was just, I'm a hillbilly at heart. And this car was just, it was chef's kiss. And then I sold that. So I'm buying all these cars. And when you buy a car from a dealership, you buy an F-150 from a dealership for $24,000, $25,000. It's probably not, you're not gonna be able to sell it for 25 back. So you sell it for 22 and you lose $3,000 like that. And then after that, I sold the truck for no reason. In all of these cases, everything I should have done was just kept the car. That's what I should have done. That's the thing I look back on. Even the truck, yeah, I had like a $20,000 loan after I put some money down. I could have paid that off in like 6 months. But I was like, oh my gosh, what did I do? Why did I get this loan? And I sold the car. Don't be so rash in what I've done. And then I bought this $2,500 clunker that I got at home. And I'm like, okay, let me just take this to a shop to get this all checked out, to make sure everything's okay, see if there's any like big problems, because it was running fine and everything. And I took it to a shop, and the guy said, the frame is completely rusted through on the front right tire. You can't drive this car. I wouldn't even feel comfortable doing an oil change or anything to this car because it's completely rusted through. I don't feel comfortable with you driving this home, but I understand you have to get it home instead of towing it. So I spent $2,500 on nothing. I sold it for $500 at scrap. So now I'm down another $2,000 because I'm just making these rash decisions. I'm trying to save money. I'm trying to do this. I'm trying to do that. And I'm making these rash decisions, these bad judgments. And then after that, I bought a minivan for $12,000. And I've had that car now for 3 years. 3 years. I've had that car for 3 years. And that has been one of the best decisions I've ever made. The moral of this story is when buying a car, depending on your income, as long as, like, I wasn't buying $50,000 cars. I was buying like $10,000, $20,000 cars. As long as you can afford to pay it off in a couple months, just don't be so rash about it. You don't need to, I wouldn't suggest buying a car on a loan. I will never buy another car on a loan. But you just need to be patient, be a little bit more patient. Like I was just jumping so quick on all of these. I knew because I knew I had made a mistake and I was trying to correct my mistake. And so I was just trying to jump as fast as I could to try to fix it as fast as I could. And it's stupid. That's not how things work. People overestimate what they can do in a day, but they underestimate what they can do in a year. Like the truck, I easily could have paid off within a year, and instead I tried to get this clunker, and then I bought a minivan and just paid that off in a little bit less time because a little bit less money. And so that's one of my big problems. The next one is that I never stayed at a job long enough to have my 401k balance stay in, so it would just continuously get cashed out. This hasn't happened to me for a couple jobs now, but when I first got out of college, I got a job at a company. And what I was doing is I was putting in a significant amount of my money. I think I was putting like 20% of my paycheck to my 401k because I knew how important it was. I didn't really understand why, but I just knew it was important because I just understand the numbers. It's always just been kind of relatively easy for me to understand investing in the numbers. And I only stayed there for 9 months. So when I left, I quit and my wife and I moved down to Florida. I was there for 9 months. And then when I left, all that money got cashed out and sent to me in a check. And so I lost all of this money. I lost the company match. I lost so much money, and you get fees and taxes and like crazy on your 401k. So I had I think it was like $1,500-$1,600. I had a decent amount of money in there, and I got a check for like $500. But they had to do that legally. There was a reason they had to do it, and it was just like some type of legal obligation. And then it happened again at my very next job. I left after like 8 months or 7 months, whatever. Look. You got to bounce around a little bit when you're in your 20s. I'd suggest everybody do that. But I just wish I would have stayed a little bit longer so that my 401k just would have stayed. Instead of I get cashed out and all this money just poof, it vanishes because it's $500. Yeah, it's like a decent amount of money, but it could have been, it was $1,500 and I got sent a check for $500 and I didn't invest it. I just spent it on who knows what. And that $1,500 back then, now, I mean, that was 7 years ago. This could be $3,000-$4,000. Instead, I just have the money and I don't even know. I don't have the $500 now. I just spent it probably on food and gas and stupid stuff. The next one is that I have tried to impress people with money. I thought it was cool to open a credit card and then spend money on it. And that's it. I thought that was cool. It's actually not cool to do that because at the end of the day, you're going to have to deal with the fact that you no longer have money because you spent it trying to impress people. It's stupid to buy things to try to impress people, which leads me into the fourth thing. I used to convince myself a lot that I needed certain items. I was really big into technology. I've talked about that a lot on this podcast. I used to have a tech channel I do have a tech channel. And I was trying to just impress people. So what I would do is I would buy a computer, I would buy a monitor, I would buy this, I would buy that. And it's because I just wanted people to think that I was doing well. I just wanted people to see my cool stuff. I wanted to bring my laptop and I wanted to travel with it so people could see that I had a laptop, a MacBook. That's a dumb way to live. I found out pretty quickly that's a dumb way to live and it's an expensive way to live. But don't do that. Don't try to buy things to impress people. And next, buying new stuff. I did this a lot. And the reason I was doing it is because I could only afford stuff on a credit card. So I bought this camera that you're actually watching on, a GH5, and I bought a drone. And that was $1,000. So the GH5 was like $2,000. The drone was $1,000. And then I bought a bunch of computer parts for about $1,000. So I spent $4,000 on a credit card. And all that stuff at the time, if I were just to turn around and sell it on Facebook or on eBay, it was probably bought for $4,000. It's probably only worth about $2,000. But because I couldn't afford it in cash, I had to buy it on a credit card. So I had to buy it brand new. And let me tell you, the difference between $4,000 and $2,000 is a lot of money. That's $2,000. So I used to buy a lot of tech products brand new just because I couldn't afford them with cash. If you can't afford it with cash, you can't buy it. Sorry, that's just life. But another thing to remember is that it's significantly cheaper too. I talk about it a lot on this podcast, but my whole setup here, everything that's been purchased, except for this is actually my second GH5 because I sold a GH5 and then I bought a different camera and then I bought this GH5 for my wedding business. All of this stuff combined was bought for like 30% of original asking value from the company. This MacBook was bought for 50% off. That camera was bought for I think that was bought for like 70% off. The microphone, all this stuff was bought for like 50% off. So you can save a significant amount of money just by buying used instead of buying new. And it's the best thing. I love buying used. I buy used all the time. Make sure the person didn't steal it. Make sure that they didn't. Ask them questions. If it's theirs, ask them questions. And what I found is that what it seems like is most people, especially for an expensive item, most people take pretty good care of their expensive items. Most people also don't use their stuff as much as they think they were going to use them. That's why they're selling it. So just like workout equipment, but you can get some exceptional deals, and make sure the person's not a smoker. Getting a computer or something that smells like smoke is really hard to clean off. If you have something like that, the best way to clean it is to use cotton swabs. And it's really weird, but this actually works really well, is to use vanilla and cotton swabs, and you can clean the entire computer and get rid of the smell. Cotton balls too, cotton swabs and cotton balls. You can use vanilla, let it air out, and it actually, like, you can clean it pretty good and get rid of that smell. But I would just suggest not doing that because it's really hard to clean computer components, and it's just a lot of extra work that you shouldn't have to do. All you have to do is say, hey, are you a smoker? If they say yes, then say, I'm not interested, or ask for an even deeper discount. That's what I would suggest doing. All right, and now we'll go to the comment section. Wah, wah. There actually were a couple comments from Kenji again. Thank you, Kenji. He's a great, he watches, he literally watches, I think, almost every video I make. And I really appreciate the fact that somebody would do that. I don't want you, I hope it's not negatively impacting your life consuming my videos, but I am appreciative of the fact that you watched them. So thank you for all the kind comments. But you don't disagree with me, so I can't react to a comment. Just tell me I'm stupid, and then I can say something. I gotta respond to it. All right, next is the quote of the day. This is from Ralph Waldo Emerson. Truth and goodness and beauty are but different faces of the same all. And when I read this, the first thing I thought about was John 14, chapter 14. And Jesus says, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. It's such an interesting thing because it's just true. Like in my life, when I'm living into truth, and when I'm being truthful, and when I'm doing my best to be good, and when I'm trying to actually do good by people and by the world, beauty just sort of falls along with that. And then you look back and you go, man, that period in my life, it truly was one of the most beautiful. It was a great time. And you could see that the reason is because of the things that you're doing. I don't know. I just think, like, I've talked about this on my channel before, but it's like the truth. It's like, try to never lie. Living in truth, living in a lie is an exhausting way to live. Pretending you're something you're not is an exhausting way to live. I did that on my tech channel. One of the reasons I stopped posting videos on it the first time was because I was a phony. I pretended like I knew all this stuff about technology, and I didn't. I mean, I really didn't. I knew some things, but I was just a good enough BSer to sort of get around the fact that I didn't really know all the things that I needed to know. And I look back at that time in my life, and I was living out of truth. There was no goodness in my soul. I was doing everything for evil means, for money. I did everything just for money. So I didn't care what the video was. I just wanted clicks. I just wanted views, because one view equals one more money. That's all I cared about. And then obviously there was no beauty in what I was making. I was creating ugly videos. I mean, I can look back. I was also bad at it, but the videos themselves are ugly. I'm ugly. I'm spiteful. I'm a mean little man. That's all I was. I had an arrogance about me, and it was just a bad way to live. And I look at the last few years of my life, and I'm not perfect. But it's been the most beautiful point of my life. And there has been a tremendous amount of goodness. And I think a lot of that just stems from the fact that I'm just living into truth, and I'm not lying. Like, I'm just trying to do the best I can to do all those things, to create beautiful things, to be a decent guy. I'll never be good. I know that I'll never be good. To be decent. If I could just be decent, I'd be happy. And living into truth is the best way to live. And so obviously beauty, truth, goodness, they're all parts of the same all. The truth actually matters. Living in a lie will ruin your life for a period of time, but it could also condemn you for eternity, living into a lie. For example, like running a business that aggressively takes advantage of people, but you have to convince yourself that you're doing a good thing. You always have to be re-examining your life. You have to be seeing what you're doing and making sure that what you're doing is actually good. It's actually pushing towards truth. It's actually pushing towards beauty. And of course, it's actually pushing towards goodness. You could see what I do. You know what I'm doing. You're watching this podcast. You probably know of my channel. I am trying to do that to the best of my abilities every single day, living into those three ideas. And you can't do it alone. Like, another thing too is you just can't do it alone. You need Jesus Christ. You need God. Like, you can't do it alone. Jesus doesn't say that he's the way, the truth, and the life for fun, for giggles. It's like, he says that because the only way you can get to the Father is through me. And of course, in John, at the end, one of the things that Pontius Pilate says is he goes, well, what is truth? And I think that's where we're at now, is what is truth? There's no objective reality because God doesn't exist. So there can't be any objective morality. There can't be anything that's objective ever, because what is truth? When Pontius Pilate said that, it basically condemned humanity to that forever. But obviously Jesus dies on the cross and relieves us of our sins, but you have to try to live into truth, try to live into beauty, and obviously try to live into goodness. And it's hard though. Like, we all suck. You suck. I suck. And I know you suck because we're humans, and I'm sorry that you suck, but try to suck a little bit less. Try to live into truth, goodness, and beauty, just like Jesus would have wanted you to. And now, my favorite section of the day is unsolicited advice. The unsolicited advice section is where I just get to tell you whatever the heck I think, but I just have like a new title for it, because literally the entire podcast is basically just unsolicited advice. But I just liked this. I loved the idea of me just giving unsolicited advice. I thought it was funny. And so that's why this whole podcast is unsolicited advice. But you're here, so you solicited it by listening. And at this point, not like, we're 35 minutes into this podcast and you're still listening. This advice is solicited. I should change it to solicited advice, but then I have to make a whole new intro thing. And they really took me like 3 minutes to make, and I really don't want to do that again. So today's unsolicited advice is treat yourself like you matter and like you are actually important. This obviously reverts back to a little bit what we were talking about earlier with the moderators, but it's so much more than that. There are just basic, simple things that you do every single day. And it's this idea that I'm working through, and I haven't figured it out yet. But basically this idea is that every single day you are making micro decisions. You make big decisions like, where am I going to eat? What am I going to do? But you make also these micro decisions too, where you're laying in bed and you decide to pick up your phone. You're not really thinking about it, but you just do. Or you're laying in bed and you go, it's 7:15. I could get out of bed, but I'll just snooze it for a little bit. And you're not really thinking about the long-term consequences of that. You just sort of make these casual decisions every single day. You go get a snack without thinking about it. You go do this without thinking about it. You make a million decisions every single day. And trying to have the mindset that you matter, I believe, will positively impact those decisions, those micro decisions that you don't think that you're making. And so it's not a full thought. I haven't totally figured it out yet, but I think it's just this idea that we're constantly making decisions every single day. We make a few conscious decisions and we make like a million subconscious decisions. So how can we live into a way where we are constantly, with our subconscious decisions, choosing the right thing? Because when you break that down, it's basically like, how can we live like Jesus did? And he wasn't consciously making every decision. I mean, we're humans. He was a human. So he was making subconscious decisions, but he always made the right subconscious decision. He was infallible. He was Jesus Christ. So how can we try to live into that idea? And I don't know how to do it. That's why it's an unfilled thought. Obviously, we'll never be Jesus, but maybe you live into a little bit of truth, a little bit of beauty, a little bit of goodness. Maybe that's what you should do. So a few things a few ideas would be treating yourself like you matter. So I'm talking to that guy in the video. I think his name is Dilly. Dilly, you need to treat yourself like you matter. If you want to have a woman, you want to be with a woman. For one, stop looking at women like they're only bodies. You know what I mean? Like, we get it. Yeah, I get it. I hear you. I understand why you like her so much. But like, really? You really need to be treated like that because she looks okay? I mean, like, she looks okay. Like, you're going to give up everything? You're going to give up your soul for that? I mean, come on, dude. You're literally better than that. I know you have to be better than that because you're human. And I know that you were made to be more than that. So just go to the gym and get some confidence. I think a lot of people are missing some confidence. Eat healthier. It makes you feel a little bit better. It makes you look a little bit better. You just need some confidence. Go up to a girl, get rejected in person, or maybe don't get rejected in person. But you have to do these things. You have to go step outside of your comfort zone. You have to view yourself like you are God's creation, like he knit you together in the womb. You have to view yourself like that, because if you don't, then again, you're just atoms floating through space, and her treating like that is just part of life, and it's not embarrassing. It's, who cares? Don't be a simp. A simp. I love this word, simp, because it's degrading to you. The lifestyle of being a simp, of being somebody who is willing to be treated by a woman so poorly. I have the most amazing wife and the most incredible wife that's ever existed on the planet. And I know that because she's my wife. And of course I would get the best one. But women and men, the relationship is so remarkable. The things that they can create beyond just obviously the most beautiful thing, which is human life. The things that they can create are so it's so remarkable the things that they can do together because we just feed off of each other in such a positive way. She does this, so I do this. She does that, so I do this. I do this, she does that. You know what I mean? Like you're there to make each other's lives better, not to be humiliated. You're not there to be humiliated. And finally, being respected and being respectable are the things that should matter most to a guy. There are a lot of things that matter in this world. And obviously my kids, God, these things though, when you talk about the things that affect you directly, you, as a guy, you want to be respected desperately. That's what it is. I mean, we know it. We just want to be respected. We want to be looked at like we're respectable people. You have to be respectable, though, in order to be respected. You have to earn the right to be respected in order to be respected. People aren't going to respect you just because you exist. Maybe that's how it should be, but it's just not how it is. We're humans. We're flawed. So you have to be respectable, and you have to cultivate an identity of being somebody who demands respect. And that's hard. Like, I'm not going to sit there and pretend like that's easy, but you have to make the conscious decision every single day to be respectable, because if not, you're just going to live a miserable life. I mean, you just are. You just have to pretend for a little bit like you matter. Even if you are in the depths of hell, first of all, Jesus Christ is there. Like, there is no darkness that his light will not get to. And you have to understand that, like, no matter how bad things get, you are worth more, which is what's so frustrating to me. It's like these ideas seem so simple to me, and I think it's because I've been blessed I've had an unbelievably blessed and lucky life. I just have, and I think that for me it's so easy. It's like, well, duh, of course. But the people who are just in the depths of hell, who are depressed, who are just trying to get by day in and day out, those people, I get it. I understand why you might not be able to think like me, but you have to trust me here. You just have to trust me, right? Because these things are in the book. First of all, or you can just read the Bible. You can just trust Jesus. That's a little bit more of an authority on this than I am. But you just have to understand that, like, you are respectable, and you just have to become and live into that person, and you have to treat yourself like you matter. And that's the only way you're going to do that. Thank you for listening or watching. This has been Scott with the Dear Young Men podcast, episode 15. I will see you next week. And yes, I'm filming this on the Monday right before this is due because I'm behind like I always am. Peace.